Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, today we're cracking open a case file that honestly feels more like a thriller than finance. Think digital billions, crazy shopping sprees, and these, well, completely delusional ambitions of royalty.
It's quite the story, isn't it? We're looking at Zhimin Qian, the woman dubbed the crypto queen. And look, before we dive in, I really have to give credit where it's due. The research from Expert Trader UK, absolutely foundational for understanding this whole mess. Their insights have been invaluable.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And our goal today for you listening isn't just to list facts. We want to get into the architecture of this scheme.
Yeah.
How did one person build a $9 billion Ponzi scheme, basically on the blockchain?
And then live this unbelievable fugitive life for 6 years right here in the UK.
Exactly. And then why her capture kicked off this huge international legal fight over, what, £5 billion in seized crypto?
This scale alone is just staggering. $9 billion, 128,000 victims. When you start digging into the sheer human engineering involved, the crypto tech almost seems like the least surprising part.
Right. And this is where it gets kind of bizarrely mundane. You've got this massive 6-year international hunt.
High-stakes stuff.
Yeah. And it ends not in some hidden fortress, but in April 2024 in, like, a quiet Airbnb in a suburb in York.
Found in bed, no less. It's almost anticlimactic for someone who, saw herself as royalty.
A queen of a microstate, apparently.
We'll get to that. And that £5 billion figure, that's the largest crypto seizure ever in the UK. It just highlights the massive challenge this whole thing presents, legally, globally.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then, part one. How did this $9 billion scam actually work?
Right, the deception. It all starts back in 2014, Tianjin, China. Tianjin sets up a company called Lantian Jirui.
Lantian Jirui, what does that mean?
Literally translates to blue ski greet. Sounds incredibly positive, doesn't it? Maybe even state approved?
Yeah.
Trustworthy.
Perfect cover.
Exactly. Especially for a scheme built on, well, nothing tangible.
And the business itself, what was she selling?
It was a clever mix. She pitched this blend of exciting but poorly understood tech. Cryptocurrency mining on one hand.
Which sounds futuristic, profitable.
Well, right. And high-tech health products on the other. That made it seem grounded, maybe even beneficial.
So a bit of smoke and mirrors with the tech and something seemingly real with the health stuff.
Precisely. It created this investment vehicle that just felt complicated. Too complex for most people to really question or pick apart.
Was any of the crypto mining real? Or just like a label?
From everything we can tell, the mining part was either totally fake or, maybe a tiny shell operation just for show. The actual money, 100% new investors. Classic Ponzi.
But the marketing, that was sophisticated.
Oh, absolutely. Glossy materials, promotional videos. There was even one called Britain Nice Life. It wasn't selling a product. It was selling an aspirational lifestyle. Wealth. Status.
Which leads to the hook. The promise that got over 100,000 people to buy in. What were the returns?
They were promising up to 200% profit over just 2.5 years.
200%.
Yeah.
That's insane. How did anyone believe that?
Well, it sounds impossible on paper, right? But this is where the psychology comes in. It wasn't really about the final 200%. It was about the daily payouts.
Ah, the small, regular wins.
Exactly. The daily drip. She guaranteed something like 100 yuan, maybe $14, paid out every single day.
So you see money hitting your account constantly.
Right. It provides this immediate, tangible reward. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement. You're not waiting months for a dividend. You see profit now.
It bypasses skepticism, creates a sort of feedback loop.
It really does. There's this anecdote from one victim, a Mr. Yu. He said those daily payouts made everyone feel really good. Good enough, he said, to borrow a little more to invest.
Wow, so people weren't just investing savings, they were borrowing.
Leveraging themselves, leveraging their communities. Once that confidence kicks in from the small wins, the whole thing just accelerates.
And accelerated it did. By 2017, we're talking 40 billion yuan. That's roughly $9 billion, right?
Yeah.
From over 128,000 people across every single province in China. The scale is just mind-blowing.
How did it spread so fast? Was it just word of mouth?
It was structured for speed. Think multi-level marketing. an MLM approach.
So investors become recruiters.
Exactly. You got bonuses for bringing people in, recruit 10, get a bigger cut. If they recruit 10 more, you move up a level. It basically outsourced the sales and, crucially, the trust building. People trust their friends, their family.
And she played on more than just financial incentives, didn't she? There was an emotional angle, too.
Definitely. Especially targeting older victims. She used themes of, like, patriotism, community.
How so?
Well, the company name itself, Blue Ski Greet, sounds positive, nationalistic almost. They ran events, mass holidays, banquets, created this whole sense of belonging. If you were, say, an elderly person in a rural area, this wasn't just an investment, it was a social club, a community.
Making it harder to question things. You'd be betraying the group. Precisely. She even wrote poems, apparently. And they flew banners celebrating China. It was all designed to weave the scheme into the social fabric.
That's deeply cynical. Weaponizing community.
And she went even further for legitimacy. She needed that final stamp of approval, or at least the appearance of it.
What did she do?
Managed to hold a big event in the Great Hall of the People.
China's main legislative building. Seriously.
Yep. For anyone in China, that venue implies serious state backing. It just crushes skepticism.
Unbelievable.
And wait, there's more. She apparently got an endorsement from the son-in-law of Chairman Mao himself.
Wow. Okay, so she was building this incredible facade of political connection and legitimacy.
Stacking the deck, signaling, we're powerful, we're connected, we're safe. But, even the best Ponzi schemes run out of road eventually. New money slows down.
And the authorities start asking questions.
Exactly. Chinese authorities started investigating the non-existent products, the crazy returns, and the whole thing just collapsed.
When was this?
July 2017. Suddenly, Qian, the supposed goddess of wealth, just vanished, pulled a classic disappearing act, leaving behind, financial ruin for 128,000 people.
The transition was just instant, which meant she had to move on to her next plan immediately.
Yep. Phase 2, becoming an international fugitive.
Right, part 2, the fugitive life. So Qian disappears from China. This wasn't a random panic flight, was it?
No, not at all. Highly calculated. She knew the investigation was coming. Her exit was planned to avoid immediate capture and, crucially, to avoid countries that had extradition treaties with China.
So where did she go?
It was a roundabout route, through Myanmar first, then Thailand, Laos, Malaysia.
Deliberately muddying the trail.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Making it harder for authorities to track her in real time or coordinate internationally. Buying time, buying anonymity.
And then she surfaces in the UK, September 2017.
Correct. But not as Zhimin Qian. She arrives as Yadi Zhang.
New identity. How?
With a passport from St. Kitts and Nevis.
One of those citizenship by investment programs.
Exactly. If you have enough money, you can essentially buy a passport that grants visa-free access to many countries, including the UK. It's a relatively smooth entry point.
And she didn't exactly lay low when she got here, did she?
Far from it. She rented a 6-bedroom mansion in Hampstead, North London, very affluent area.
How much was the rent?
Over £17,000 a month. She wasn't hiding. She was setting up shop in luxury. Told people she was some kind of wealthy heiress dealing in diamonds and antiques.
But she had billions in Bitcoin. How do you actually use that kind of digital wealth without raising flags? She needed help, right?
Yes. She needed someone on the ground, a front person, to handle the messy business of converting crypto into cash, pounds, assets. That's where Jianwen comes in.
Jianwen. Who was she?
Her background's quite a contrast. She used to work in a Chinese takeaway. Qian hired her as a sort of personal assistant.
A takeaway worker. To handle laundering billions in Bitcoin. That seems risky. Or maybe naive.
It's a really interesting point. Why, when? Maybe it was arrogance on Qian's part, thinking she could control someone less experienced. Or maybe it was about isolation.
How so?
A professional money launderer would have their own network, demand a huge cut, maybe be less controllable. When was dependent, maybe easily manipulated. Qian could get her to take risks with, bank compliance, KYC, AML checks, risks Qian wouldn't take herself.
KYC, know your customer. AML, anti-money laundering. The stuff banks have to do.
Exactly. And Wen's job was basically to navigate all that, to turn Qian's hidden Bitcoin into usable wealth.
So what did Qian do all day in this Hampstead mansion? Was she masterminding? The next phase?
Doesn't sound like it. Sources say she spent most of her days gaming online and shopping. Just pure consumption.
Shopping like?
Like dropping almost 92,000 pounds at Harrods. Designer stuff, jewelry, clothes, watches, often in single trips. Luxury travel too, staying in fancy hotels. Spending money like it was infinite and consequence-free.
That detachment.
Yeah.
It really comes through in her diaries, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, the diaries are wild. They paint a picture of someone completely losing touch with reality. Her ambitions weren't just grand, they were fantastical.
Like what?
Things like setting up her own international bank, buying a castle in Sweden, trying to get friendly with a British duke.
Okay.
All completely unrealistic, probably illegal schemes. And then there's the big one, the most bizarre goal.
Go on.
She apparently planned to become the Queen of Liberland by 2022.
Liberland. Is that even a real place?
It's a self-proclaimed microstate on disputed land between Croatia and Serbia. It's more of a libertarian project or a curiosity than an actual country.
So she didn't just want to be rich, she wanted to be actual royalty of a place that barely exists.
Seems so. It speaks volumes about her mindset, doesn't it? This belief that enough money could just buy her anything, even sovereignty, immunity from the real world.
But the real world eventually catches up, especially when you're trying to move that much money around London.
Exactly. The UK's anti-money laundering rules are pretty strict, and trying to buy huge properties, that's where things started to unravel.
She tried to buy houses.
Yes, multi-million-pound properties. One specific attempt was for a place worth $24 million.
24 million. That's definitely going to trigger some serious checks.
For sure. Enhanced due diligence. Jian Wen, as the front person, simply couldn't provide a believable, legitimate source for that kind of money.
So the banks, the authorities, they got suspicious.
Very. It put them squarely on the radar of the Metropolitan Police. They froze an account linked to one of the property deals. And then, just days later, October 2018.
The raid?
The raid on the Hampstead mansion. And that's when they found the digital treasure trove.
The big seizure?
Yep. Laptops, hard drives, containing the private keys for over 61,000 Bitcoin.
61,000. Wow. What was that worth back then?
Already a huge amount, millions. But Bitcoin's price then soared, turning that seizure into the $5 billion fortune that makes this case so significant today, a landmark haul for the Met's Economic and Cybercrime Command.
Incredible. But Qian herself, she got away again.
She did. It seems like in the chaos of the raid, while the police secured the devices, the actual person, Qian, slipped through the net.
How?
Details are a bit murky, but she essentially vanished. Again, went completely dark, abandoned the Hampstead life, left Jian Wen to face the music.
And that's the start of the 6-year cold case. The police have the Bitcoin, but the queen is gone.
Exactly. She became a ghost.
Okay, so part 3, the manhunt.
Oh.
6 years Qian is off the radar after that 2018 raid. The police have this huge Bitcoin stash, but no fugitive. What were they doing all that time?
Well, it was partly a waiting game. They had the 61,000 Bitcoin, likely secured in cold storage, offline wallets accessed by the keys they'd seized. So that money wasn't moving.
But they suspected she had other funds.
Right. You don't run a $9 billion scheme and put all your eggs in one digital basket.
Yeah.
They figured she must have other wallets, smaller amounts perhaps, that they hadn't found. And eventually, she'd need cash. She'd have to access something.
So they were just watching, monitoring known addresses.
Essentially, yes. The Met's cybercrime unit kept tabs on wallets linked to her network. It's patient work. They were betting she'd make a mistake, that she couldn't stay hidden and solvent forever without touching the digital money somehow.
And the break finally came. February 2024.
That's right. After nearly 6 years of silence, one of the wallets they were monitoring, linked to Qian, suddenly showed activity. A flicker of life.
A flicker? What does that mean practically? A big withdrawal?
Probably not. More likely a small transaction, maybe testing the waters, moving a tiny amount to an exchange, or just shuffling funds around to pay a fee. Even a minuscule transaction is significant.
Right.
Because to make any transaction, you need the private key, which usually means accessing it from a device that exists in the physical world, potentially leaving digital footprints like an IP address.
Ah, so that tiny transaction was the breadcrumb they needed.
Exactly. The digital trail went from cold to warm. The cyber analysts would have immediately jumped on it using blockchain analysis tools.
Chain analysis.
Right. To trace where that little bit of crypto went. Did it go to an exchange that requires ID? Did it get converted to fiat currency through a specific bank or service? They're looking for that link back to the real world.
And did they find it?
They did. That digital flicker led them on a physical chase across the UK. The investigation shifted from tracking bits and bytes to tracking actual movements.
Where did the trail take them?
Interestingly, it first led them way up north to Scotland, to a really remote bungalow near Loch Tay, suggests she was seeking serious oscillation.
Trying to stay hidden.
Then the trail moved south again, towards Glasgow. A more ordinary-looking house this time, red tiles, suburban feel. She was clearly moving around, not staying put for long.
And the final stop, York, in an Airbnb.
The irony, right. After dreaming of castles and duchies, April 2024, the police finally closed in on that rental property in York.
And they found her.
Found her in bed. Body cam footage captured it. Swift, decisive end to the 6-year run.
Was she still holding significant assets, even after the big 2018 seizure?
Oh, yes. They seized 4 more crypto wallets right there, holding over £62 million, plus 2 fake passports and a decent amount of cash. She still had resources.
Explains how she stayed hidden for so long. Was she completely alone at this point?
It seems she had at least one key helper towards the end. Jian Wen, her original assistant, was already out of the picture. She'd been convicted back in March 2024. Got 6 years, 8 months for the money laundering.
Okay, so Wen was dealt with. Who helped with that final crucial transaction in February?
That appears to have been a Malaysian national named Seng Hock Ling. He was arrested the same day as Qian, but in Leeds.
And his role?
He seems to have been the facilitator for moving that recently activated Bitcoin, maybe acting as a broker, helping convert it. And interestingly, he wasn't unknown to authorities, had a history of fraud in Hong Kong.
So Qian likely recruited someone with, let's say, relevant prior experience when she decided she needed to access those funds again.
Looks that way. A disposable asset, perhaps.
This whole chase, the digital tracking, the eventual capture, it really shows how far law enforcement has come in tackling this kind of crime, doesn't it?
It really does. It sends a strong message. Will Line from the Met Cybercrime Command put it well. He said something like, "Every crypto transaction leaves a trace. Criminals cannot hide forever. The digital footprint is permanent, even if the person tries to vanish."
Okay, part 4. Justice, such as it is, and this massive unanswered question about the money. Qian's caught, she's in court. What happens next?
Right. She ends up at Southwark Crown Court, and there's a bit of courtroom maneuvering. She initially pleads not guilty.
Standard enough.
But then, first day of the trial, November 11th, 2025, she changes her plea. Admits to 2 counts of money laundering.
Why the change of heart?
Usually suggests the evidence is just overwhelming. A guilty plea might be seen as showing some remorse, maybe hoping for a slightly later sentence. Damage limitation, basically.
And the sentence.
Judge Cellian Hales, KC, gave her 11 years and 8 months.
And her accomplice, Ling.
He got 4 years and 11 months. A lesser sentence for his role, which was significant but obviously smaller than Qian's overall operation.
Did the judge have anything specific to say about the case? It feels like one that warrants strong words.
Oh, definitely. Judge Hales didn't mince words, called the scale unprecedented, the motive pure greed.
Pretty direct.
And importantly, she specifically mentioned the victims. Said Qian left China without a thought for the people whose investments you had stolen. Acknowledged the human cost, the lavish lifestyle enjoyed on stolen money. It wasn't just a financial ruling, it was a moral judgment, too.
So the criminal proceedings are wrapped up. Qian sentenced, Ling sentenced. But that £5 billion Bitcoin haul? That's still sitting there.
Exactly. And that kicks off a whole new, incredibly complex legal battle. This is the billion-dollar question part. The seized crypto is now the subject of a civil case under the Proceeds of Crime Act, POCA, scheduled to start early 2026.
Okay, explain POCA for us. Why isn't the money just given back to the victims now she's convicted?
Well, POCA cases are separate from criminal trials. They focus solely on whether assets came from crime. The UK government, usually the Crown Prosecution Service or similar body, argues these are illicit funds and should be confiscated by the state.
So the government wants to keep the money.
That's the default starting position under POCA. However, if victims can come forward and prove they have a better legal claim to the assets, that it's their stolen property, they can challenge the government's right to keep it.
And who are the main players fighting over this crypto fortune?
You've got 2 main sides with completely opposite interests. On one side, potentially thousands of the original Chinese victims, arguing this Bitcoin represents their stolen life savings. They want restitution.
Makes sense.
On the other side, you have the UK government arguing the assets are proceeds of crime and, under UK law, should be confiscated. They might argue it's too hard to prove individual victim claims, or that the UK has a right to retain funds recovered within its jurisdiction.
Trying to return money to 128,000 people in China. The logistics alone sound impossible.
It's incredibly difficult. First off, proving your claim. Remember the MLM structure. Many victims didn't wire money directly to Qian's company. They gave cash to a local promoter or did a local bank transfer.
So tracing their specific money into that specific Bitcoin seized years later in London. That's a huge leap.
It's a massive evidential hurdle. The fraud was designed to obscure those links. Victims would need to argue in a UK court, possibly using complex legal ideas like a constructive trust, saying the crypto was effectively held for them even after being laundered.
And the government would push back.
They'd likely argue that once laundered into crypto, it became a distinct asset derived from crime, subject to POCA confiscation rules. It's legally complex territory.
But let's say some victims can prove their initial investment. There's still another massive problem, isn't there? The value.
Yes. This is maybe the most fascinating and unprecedented part. That 61,000 Bitcoin wasn't worth £5 billion when seized in 2018. It was worth much less. The massive increase in value happened while it was held by the authorities.
So the question is, what do victims get back? The original amount they invested in yuan back in 2015.
Or do they get a share of the Bitcoin's current vastly appreciated value?
The difference is literally billions of pounds.
Exactly. If the court rules they only get back their original fiat investment value, the UK government essentially pockets billions in profit from the market appreciation. They might argue it's unjust enrichment for victims to get the profit, as the profit wasn't directly stolen.
But if the court does rule that victims are entitled to the appreciated value,
then it sets a huge global precedent. It would mean governments holding seized crypto might have to treat it almost like they're holding it in trust for victims, including any gains. It forces a redefinition of how seized volatile assets are handled.
has a court ever ruled on something like this, on this scale?
Never. Not with this amount of money and this level of appreciation. The UK's Crown Prosecution Service says they're looking at a compensation scheme, but you can bet this valuation issue, original investment versus appreciated crypto, is the massive sticking point behind the scenes.
So the outcome of this civil case could ripple through crypto regulation and asset recovery worldwide.
Absolutely. It will define how governments handle these situations for years to come. The criminal part might be over, but the fight over the billions, it's only just beginning.
Incredible. So wrapping this up, we've gone through the scam, the fugitive life, the manhunt, the conviction. What are the big takeaways for you, for our listeners?
Well, first, just the sheer power of psychological manipulation. Using community, patriotism, fake endorsements, it shows how vulnerable people can be, even to schemes promising impossible returns, if the emotional levers are pulled correctly.
And second, the crypto seizure itself.
Yeah.
£5 billion. It proves that even supposedly anonymous or decentralized assets aren't beyond the reach of law enforcement. If the will and the tech are there, they can be tracked, seized.
And third, persistence pays off. That 6-year hunt, hinging on one tiny digital transaction. It's a stark reminder that the digital trail is, in many ways, permanent. Criminals might run, but their data often stays put.
The legacy here feels massive and kind of twofold.
I think so. You have the undeniable human tragedy, 128,000 people, many losing everything. Their suffering is the real cost behind all these billions. We can't forget that.
Absolutely. And then there's the legal revolution this case is sparking. That fight over the Bitcoin's value isn't just about money. It's about setting rules for the future of digital asset recovery across borders.
It really is a landmark case for crime in the digital age. Which brings us to that final thought, maybe something for you to ponder after this.
Go on.
When a government seizes assets from a crime, especially volatile assets like Bitcoin that then explode in value while in custody, who actually owns that appreciation? That profit wasn't directly stolen, it just happened due to market forces.
Right. Does the government get a multi-billion-pound windfall, essentially profiting from holding criminal assets? Or should that value somehow flow back to the original victims whose stolen money, however indirectly, formed the seed capital for that asset pool in the first place?
There's no easy answer. But how the UK courts decide this specific question, valuation and ownership of unrealized gains on seized crypto, will fundamentally shape how justice systems worldwide deal with the fallout of major digital fraud for the next decade.
It's the final, complex twist in the story of the crypto queen. A battle over billions she orchestrated but can no longer control, fueled by the very technology she used to build her phantom empire.
A truly wild ride, start to finish, and clearly it's not quite finished yet.
Not by a long shot. Okay, that wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.